welcome to Americans Learn. My name is Lauren, and today I'm looking at a fat electrician video. This one is the FEMA of Texas, HEB The General Store. And then we're gonna learn about it's so much more than a grocery store. I am planning on watching a longer fat electrician video pretty soon. It's just recently today when I'm filming, I have to go to work in 2 hours, and I still have 3 more things I need to film, and if his videos are an hour long, it takes me a lot longer than that to film them. So I am planning on watching some of his longer stuff in the near future. Also, there's a couple of Bricky videos that I'm planning on watching, Epic the Musical. All of these videos that I have that I need to watch, all of them are going to take me well over an hour probably. So they have to happen on days where I don't have things planned at night. And it just so happens that the first time in over a week that I don't have evening plans is going to be Thursday. So I'm sorry, I'm busy. But fat electrician, we're learning about the FEMA of Texas, HEB, the grocery store, but it is so much more. Let's go.
All right, for those of you that don't know, the first video I ever made on the internet was about Aldi, my favorite grocery store. Well, they've been dethroned.
His first one? Really?
Today we're talking about HEB. It is a grocery store that pretty much only exists inside of the state of Texas. Everybody thinks HEB stands for Here Everything's Better, but it actually stands for Howard Edward Butt.
Oh, but
despite operating in only one state, it is the 5th largest privately owned company in the entire United States, generating tens of billions of dollars in revenue, and it is affectionately dubbed the FEMA of Texas. And we're gonna get into all of it right after the word from our sponsor.
Delete me.
Why do you have a commie gun?
Well, Brandon's the AK guy. I thought I could be the AK girl.
Okay, why?
Well, apparently we look alike.
You guys do not look alike.
No, 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 no. Wait.
No, Brandon, you're not allowed to shave your beard ever, especially if I'm drunk.
I'll see you sexy and next time.
Don't say it
Nick's
like that.
I'll kiss you.
All right, here's the deal. Super simple, straightforward business model. You give them money, they turn around and make sure the data brokers on the internet aren't selling your personal information. What does that even mean? Okay, here's the entire internet and every free service on the planet inside of a nutshell. Okay, there's a saying, if you're not paying for the product, you are the product. What that means is pretty much anything on the internet that you use, that's a service, whether that be Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it. Okay, it's all an app. So one of two things is happening. They're either going to feed you ads, and that's how that company makes money since their service is free, or they're going to collect your personal information, then turn around and sell it to data brokers on the internet, and then they're going to turn around and sell it to whoever buys it, and next thing you know, you're getting 17,000 robocalls every single day. And that's where Delete Me comes in. They will look through all the major data brokers and find the ones that are selling your personal information.
I want to have my personal information off the internet, but I also don't get spam calls. Ever. Maybe 1 or 2 every month and a half. I almost never get them. And now that I've said that out loud, I'm going to start getting a billion of them.
Submit opt-out requests on your behalf, and then they are legally obligated to comply. And then they'll continue to monitor these data brokers, and if they get your information again, Delete Me will submit an opt-out request again. Basically, you're paying Delete Me to get rid of all the downsides of all of the free stuff on the internet, which I think is absolutely worth it. If you want to check them out, I'll have a link and a discount code down below. Let's get back to the video. All right, here's the deal. I have been asked thousands of times to do a video about HEB. I have experience with HEB. For those of you that don't know, I have a podcast down in San Antonio, Texas. I fly down there every month to film episodes with my co-hosts, Brandon, Cody, and Eli, so I have some HEB experience. I've been to the grocery store multiple times. There's nothing overwhelmingly special about it from an outsider looking in. You go in, it's a nice grocery store. It's big, it's cool. They have good food, but they don't appear to be doing anything different than any other major chain grocery store. And then I found out on my last trip to Texas, they are, in fact, way different. About 30 minutes from where we film our podcast is Kerr County, Texas. They were hit with massive flash flooding. It destroyed homes, buildings, infrastructure. It wiped out an entire fire station. People were hurt. People were killed. It was a complete disaster and very unfortunate situation. Clint Sanders, the guy that runs Bunker Branding, my merchandise company, and his wife Jenna are both from Kerr County. They grew up there their entire lives. So as soon as that disaster hit, they were using Bunker Branding in its warehouse as a point to gather up a bunch of supplies, and then they were shuttling them into Kerr County to whoever needed them. So while I was
Cool.
down there, me and the guys over at the Unsubscribed podcast took a day and we grabbed our trucks and we were helping them move all these supplies into Kerr County. And when I got there, HEB was there. And when I say HEB was there, I don't mean they sent a truck full of supplies and were handing it out to people. No, they had an entire disaster relief operation on par with FEMA or the National Guard up and running the entire time. They had semi-trucks that were
Crazy.
specially kitted out to be mobile kitchens, cooking thousands of hot meals and giving them out to people. They had tons of food, tons of water. They had places for people to charge their cell phones. They had places for people to shower. They had a mobile pharmacy handing out medication. It was a full-on professional disaster relief effort by a fucking grocery store. It was overwhelmingly obvious this was not something that HEB threw together on a whim. This was like a
No.
professional team with professional equipment doing this job, and it's ran by a grocery store. So naturally, I had some questions. So
Yeah,
I started
that's
asking the
crazy.
people around, and that's when I find out that, you know, they all love HEB. They're literally nicknamed the FEMA of Texas, and HEB responds
Wow.
to natural disasters in Texas and the surrounding area, usually faster than the United States government does. And that's
Shocking.
great. That's awesome. They're doing fantastic things, but my business
Not,
plan-
it is shocking that a grocery store is doing it, not that the government is slow to respond. That makes sense to me. But the grocery store thing is really cool.
is like, how in the fuck is that possible? Because I know that grocery stores are one of the most cutthroat, razor-thin margin industries that you could possibly operate in. Hy-Vee, for example, which is like the major chain grocery store in the Midwest, operates on a 1% profit margin. For every dollar they sell, they make 1 penny. So how on earth is HEB making so much money selling groceries that they're able to basically fund their own version of FEMA and do all this charity work? Clearly, they're doing something different than everybody else, and I was determined to figure out what it was.
Get to the bottom of it,
let's take it from the top. All right, our story begins in the early 1900s with the parents of HEB, Howard Edward Butt, Charles, and Florence. Originally, the family was living in Memphis, Tennessee, and Charles was a pharmacist, and then at some point, he developed tuberculosis, so they decided they were going to move the family down to Kerrville, Texas, hoping that the drier climate would help with his condition. And Charles, with tuberculosis, was no longer able to work as a pharmacist, so Florence decided to step up, and she decided she was going to support the family by opening a grocery store on the first level of their 2-story house. They were going to live upstairs, they were going to run the grocery store on the first floor. And that opened in 1905. Now, in the early 1900s, grocery stores were a lot different than they are today, right? People didn't have cars usually, so people couldn't come by and pick up a bunch of groceries and drive them home. So grocery stores usually functioned as you would either call in or you would go in, you'd place an order, the people working at the grocery store would assemble your order, and then they would deliver it to your house for you. And that is what their
Cool.
three sons-
I was like, I just walked to the grocery store. Like, I really want them to bring like an Aldi or Trader Joe's or something a little closer to where I live, because I don't want to have to get on a bus or a train to go to the grocery store. But I just am like, whatever I can hold in my hands is what I'm taking out. So I have to go to the grocery store a lot.
Charles, Howard, and Edward all did at a very young age, literally going around town delivering groceries out of a baby carriage and a little red wagon. It was just like, dad's out, the entire family is stepping up to
Good
make
for
this
them.
thing work. This goes on pretty much their entire childhood. They grow up, all the boys go off to fight in war. They come back from World War I, and one of their 3 sons, Howard, takes over the grocery store and retires his mother, Florence.
He's got
So
great
Howard's
hair.
running the show now, and by 1922, he has a stroke of genius. He sees the writing on the wall. Automobiles are becoming more and more prevalent, and hey, people would probably be willing to come pick up their own groceries and pick them out themselves. So he changes the entire function of the grocery store and is really one of the early adopters of what is a modern grocery store. He changes the name of the grocery store to CC Butt Grocery, CC standing for cash and carry, telling the
And I guess they were so people weren't as childish back then. If you're naming CC Butt, like, I know it's your name, but like, okay, just me, okay.
audience, hey, you bring in cash, you carry your shit out, you fuck off. We're not gonna deliver groceries anymore. And this is genius because in exchange for that, he's saving time, money, and labor by not having to pick out all the groceries and not having to pay a delivery guy to go take the groceries to your house, so he can offer the groceries cheaper than anybody else is able to. So his grocery store becomes very popular in the surrounding community. And on top of that, the way the old grocery store functioned, they didn't have debit cards and like writing checks and stuff. So when you were, calling into an old grocery grocery store, placing your order and having it delivered to your house, they would just send you a bill at the end of the month, which as bills work, you know, sometimes people don't pay them or they order shit and then they can't afford it later. So a lot of the time when you were running these old grocery stores, you just wouldn't get paid on time or you wouldn't get paid at all. But now the customer...
See, that's one of the reasons I do like the delivery system that we have set up at our restaurant, which is mostly done through DoorDash, I think. But it helps when people pay online, because when people call in and ask for something, like doesn't happen often, but occasionally someone will call in an order, we make it, and then they just don't come. And then that is a lot of food waste. Like we have, like literally someone once called in an order for like $200 worth of food and then just did not come to pick it up ever. And they did it on purpose. Like it was not like they got into an accident and there was like an issue. No, this was like a malicious thing that they did. We found out sort of what had happened. It was like the girlfriend felt like she had had a bad experience or something, so the boyfriend called up and ordered a whole lot of stuff, then didn't come and pick it up, and they did that to mess with us. From what this was a couple years ago now, but it's just like, ooh. And it used to happen a lot more at some of the other places that I worked at. People would just call in and then just not show up, and it's like, now we don't have food. Now we have all this food that we can't sell. We can't. Anyway, it's better to. This is why I'm like, I like the get your money immediately kind of thing.
Is paying when they pick up the groceries, so he doesn't have to worry about going out and collecting debt anymore either. So it's just a better business model all around, and he's one of the first people to ever do it. From here, business is going great. He's well established in his local community. Everybody loves him, so he decides he's going to expand and open up more grocery stores. And unfortunately, it fails tremendously because he has no name brand. He opens up 4 different grocery stores. All 4 of them fail.
Unexpected problems? Good. We have the opportunity to figure out a solution.
And because this guy's a business genius, he realizes it's not his company, it's not the way he does things, it's not the way he runs things. He just doesn't have the right marketing. He doesn't have the name brand. The name brand at this point in time is Piggly Wiggly. And lucky for him, Piggly Wiggly is a franchise. So what he does is he actually buys the rights to use the name Piggly Wiggly in 3 separate locations, and he opens up 3 Piggly Wigglies, but he runs them the same way that he runs his grocery store, CC Butt Grocery. And they do great. So then he ends up buying out 3 more Piggly Wigglies that are already built, and he starts running them the same way. Then he opens up another one. And then once they're established and matured in the community and everybody knows how this new form of grocery store operates, then he changes the name over to CC Butt Grocery.
See more butts. Who's see more butts?
Nobody see more butts than you, Uncle Tony.
Woo! Got him. See, I was waiting for that joke to come around. I was like, come on, babes. Usually when I make a joke about something that happens in the thing, Nick says the same thing immediately after, and then I feel like a fool. But this time, I got there a whole 4 minutes ahead, so good job, me.
It's like grocery store guerrilla warfare. It's fucking beautiful. By 1935, all the other grocery stores are doing the same thing he was originally doing, so that wasn't really special anymore. So he renames the grocery stores again from cash and carry because it's no longer needed. It's just obviously implied at this point. So he renames it H.E. Butt Howard Edward Butt Grocery.
Hilarious.
I'm trying so hard not to make fun of their last name, but he keeps picking the worst possible names possible. C-Butt, He-Butt.
Right? See, that's what I meant when I was like, usually he makes the joke right after I do, within the breath, and there it goes. I was like, see? Ugh. He's more mature than I am, though. So that's what I've learned from this experience, is that Nick has got more maturity than me. I did not try to stop myself even once.
But so from here, Howard continues expanding. He's got the grocery business dialed in. He knows how to run a successful grocery store. So he's got 2 options. He can just keep expanding and keep doing what everybody else is doing, or he can keep innovating. And he chooses.
I was about to be like, this is a really weird angle he doesn't usually do that with the angles. And then it made sense Production values going up. Not for me, though. Only for Nick.
Uses to keep innovating. All the other grocery stores at this point in time are basically just a middleman, right? They buy products from these big manufacturers and then they mark them up and they sell them. They take their profit, they call it a day. But Howard decides he's going to be one of the first grocery stores to ever start vertically integrating. He's going to be one of the first to start offering a store brand product equivalent. So he opens up a bakery, he opens up a canning facility, he starts making some of the products that he's going to sell inside of his stores. Now, this in itself isn't that revolutionary because other companies have done this before, but Howard takes it a step further, and what he ends up doing is he submits everything to blind taste testing against the big name brands. He doesn't want the HEB knockoff product to be a knockoff product. He wants it to be just as good, if not better. So his brand is actually premium and he's still able to sell it cheaper. This obviously works out great, so he just keeps expanding, opening more grocery stores, more vertically integrated things. He's running his own warehouses, everything. And then in the 1930s, one of his warehouses gets wiped out by a hurricane. Ooh. And unlike everybody else affected by this hurricane, Howard decides he's going to keep his grocery stores open and he's actually going to get involved with the disaster relief, starting the company tradition of helping with natural disasters in southern Texas. Fast forward to World War II, Howard is now basically a major food manufacturer as well, so he uses his canning facilities and bakeries and everything else to help with the war effort, getting food to the front lines. Then World War II ends, Howard renames the company from H.E. Butt to just what we know today as HEB.
It only took him like 30 years to have a name that wasn't made fun-able. You can make fun of that sentence I just said because it was bad.
And he becomes one of the first grocery stores to invest in a frozen food section. And this is one of those things that doesn't seem like a big deal. It seems like something fairly obvious, but
it would be new.
Right at the end of World War II was when mass refrigeration really started to come out. People started to have freezers in their homes. So being one of the only places where you could go and buy a tub of ice cream and bring it back home was a humongous fucking deal.
This guy is really like cutting edge, huh? He was like ready to go on like the innovations immediately for everything. I mean, that's forward thinking for you. That's crazy. Good job, Howard.
When the fuck did we get ice cream?
Except, I mean, forward thinking about everything but the names. The names were bad, but the ideas were solid.
I cannot stress to you enough how insanely popular ice cream was in the years leading up to, during, and right after World War II. It's one of those things that kind of flies under the radar, but have you ever noticed with like senior citizens today that there's a humongous ice cream culture? Like they all love having ice cream with dinner. They all had like ice cream socials back in the day. It's all because of history, right? Because during Prohibition in the 1930s, all these bars basically woke up one morning and the government said, hey, guess what? You can't sell booze anymore, which is the only product that you were selling. So bars all over the country overnight basically had to turn themselves into soda shops and ice cream parlors. And those soda shops and ice cream parlors are what filled the social void that bars left behind. So ice cream became incredibly popular. And now one of the only places that you can go buy it in bulk in the entire United States is a grocery store in Texas called HEB. From here, he can
so many He-Man references in this one. Like, I don't know if he's ever done a He-Man reference before, and now there's been multiple.
Continues to dominate the Texas market, expanding like wildfire. He tries to go out into other states, but after a couple of years, they close those grocery stores down and decide they're just going to stay inside of the state of Texas. They decide rather than expanding HEB all over the country, they're just going to completely dominate the grocery industry at every level inside of their home state. Sure. And what I mean by that is everybody knows when it comes to grocery stores, you've kind of got your tiers of grocery stores, right? You've got your like lower income budget grocery stores where there's a lot of off-brand products, but everything's significantly cheaper. Then you've got your like legitimate grocery stores, which is kind of like what HEB or Hy-Vee or Safeway is. And then you've got your big department stores like Walmart that sell a bunch of shit and groceries.
I was definitely putting Safeway at like a lower level one, but that was just maybe because the Safeway where I grew up was a piece of shit. Oh my God. The Safeway where I grew up was so awful. Like, there was always bugs. Like the tiles were always peeling up. Like nothing else in that area was like too terrible. But I mean, okay, to be fair, yes, that particular shopping center did have several stabbings, but like none of the other stores in that shopping center were as nasty as the Safeway. All the stores looked good. People, you know, again, there were some murders that happened because obviously, that's just how it happened where I grew up. But the Safeway was nasty, and none of the other stores were nasty. So then we started going to the Food Lion instead.
HEB is like, fuck it, we're going to be all three all over the entire state of Texas. So they open up HEB Plus, which is like
fun.
a Walmart type store. Then they have their normal HEB. Then they have Jovi's Smart Shop, which is their discount low income grocery store. And then they have HEB Central Market, which is like your upscale farmer's market, fancy bougie
Whole
grocery
Foods
store.
kind of
So they're
thing.
selling groceries to absolutely everybody.
That's
and this
sick,
is absolutely genius
brilliant.
because when you start running a business across state lines, all the rules change, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you're operating in 50 states, that's 50 states with 50
too
different
many.
laws,
Too many
and you've got to
rules.
transport the equipment from your factory in Texas all the way up to Rhode Island, and it just turns into one gigantic fucking headache, and you're hiring 2, 3, 500, 1,000 people just to know all the rules and regulations for every single state. HEB is like, fuck this, we're just gonna own the entire state of Texas. And you know what?
love it.
Works
That's
because
brilliant.
Texas is
And Texas is
fucking
big.
enormous. It's basically its own country inside of the United States, and you're
Yeah, it wouldn't work so well in like Delaware, but like Texas is big.
like, oh, fat electrician, chubby electrician guys fucking exaggerating. No, I'm not, okay? Ukraine
big.
is the biggest country in Europe. It's almost the size of
Texas
Texas.
is big.
So just by dominating one singular state, Texas in the United States, they can be one of the biggest grocery providers in the world because Texas is so fucking big. Now,
I feel like the only other place that would work to this extent with like not only just size of the state, but also number of people in it would be like California. Because like Alaska's massive. Alaska's way bigger than Texas, but there's like nobody who lives there. If you live in Alaska, represent. There aren't as many of you as there are people living in Texas. So it's like, I feel like the only other place that to this extent, like to this expansion sort of style, the only other place really that it would work would be somewhere like California, where it's also huge and there's so many people who live there. Because like all the other states that are kind of bigger, like they don't have as many people. Like there's a lot more open space. There's a lot. That's interesting. This guy is really on top of it. Howard is really, really ahead of his time.
by the 60s, 70s, Howard is getting up there in age. It's time to retire, time to let everything go. So he achieves the real American dream of building an enormous company
Yeah.
and then taking it public, cashing out,
Actually
making
did
millions
it.
and millions of dollars so he can go fuck off and do whatever for the rest of his life. No, I'm just kidding. He achieves the real American dream of building something incredible and then handing it off to his sons and letting them take over the reins so he can sit back, relax, and watch his sons continue to kick ass for the rest of his life. And that's exactly what they do. They continue vertically integrating the company. HEB now owns the biggest milk processing plant in the state of Texas. They own an ice cream factory. They own multiple manufacturing facilities. They own over 400 grocery stores all over the state of Texas, and they
Dang.
have that entire community on fucking lock.
Well,
They
I
are
love that they have like the affordable stuff too. Like so many places, and again, he started this video out by talking about how they're the FEMA of Texas. They go do disaster relief. I just feel like so many times some of these big companies, like the companies that get big, they start to forget, the little people, or they forget where they came from. And it seems like these guys at HEB have not done that. They've made an actual effort to fully remain grounded and to keep helping people. So it's like we've heard about a couple of CEOs and like companies that have done similar things, or at least keeping things affordable. So like, Costco, like the Arizona tea guys, like we've seen a couple of these big companies that have done their best to keep things available for their customer base, but you don't hear about that very often, which is one of the reasons I like coming here to this channel, because he does talk about some of these guys a little bit more often than you'd hear about them in regular life. And I've never heard of HEB. This place it sounds awesome. Like, good job, HEB.
a grocery store chain that operates in one of 50 states, and somehow they are the 5th largest privately owned company in the country.
Wow. That's crazy. Mars. So, I mean, we used to go to the grocery store that was Mars. But this one looks like maybe it's not Mars packaged. This is Mars packaged goods. There was a grocery store near us called Mars when I was a kid.
bringing in over $46 billion a year. So while the rest of the competition is going out here hiring guys with business degrees that know what they're doing, aka cutting a bunch of corners to maximize profits, being very short-sighted about everything, his sons are out here building an empire that's gonna last forever. And you wanna know what they do with that empire? A bunch of good shit. It's legitimately a good place to work, according to every source that I could possibly find. Like Walmart, for example, their competition is in the lowest 35% of employee satisfaction and retention rate. HEB is in like the top 5%. 50% of HEB employees said they would not take another job in a similar field if they offered them more money. Technically, now the Butt family only owns 90% of HEB. The other 10% they gave to the employees. So every year, every employee, even the part-time ones, if they work 1,000 hours, gets a bonus check at the end of the year for whatever their cut of the corporate profits are. And on top of that, they do a ton of charity work. They donate millions of dollars a year, not just to disaster relief, but to education funds. They donate back into their communities, back into the employees themselves, and they're well known for being one of the biggest retail chains to give small companies a chance. They're well known for letting small companies that are either owned or started up by disenfranchised people or founded in Texas or founded by veterans to get inside their stores probably sooner than they should to help those companies have a chance at competing in the marketplace, which is, you know, a great plug because I know of an energy drink company founded by a bunch of veterans that would look pretty good inside of HEB. Is that a shameless plug?
Yes.
Yes, and it's the choice of a new generation.
Don't judge me, okay? I gotta shoot my shot, all right?
Yeah,
We've got
shoot that
Echelon
shot.
inside of pretty much every PX and every military base in the country. It would look really
And also, he just spent an entire video glazing them, so it's like it's gonna be hard to turn him down, right? Do what you gotta do, dude. Also, this place sounds awesome. Good job, HEB.
really good inside of every HEB in Texas too. Sorry, anyways, this brings us back to the disaster relief thing. They've been providing disaster relief to pretty much every natural disaster to hit Texas and the surrounding area since the 1930s, and they did way more than I even saw on the ground over in Kern County. HEB has a full-time disaster relief team. They're literally running their own miniature version of FEMA that somehow responds faster than FEMA. On their HEB website, they have
it's less bureaucratic red tape. Like I have family who've worked in like Coast Guard type of situations and like all of these places, like they've worked for like through FEMA before, and it's like the number of like hoops that people have to jump through in order is like, well, is this actually a disaster? Like you have to prove it first. Like it's kind of bullshit. This is something that, hey y'all, if you live in a state that's got disasters that happen fairly regularly, start like hounding your senators to try and put some of those protections back in place that got cut. So try, you guys can, that's a thing you can talk to your senators about if you live in a place that, and you should, because it sucks that the grocery store has to do better than the government, because that's what we pay taxes for, right? We're supposed to pay taxes so the government will help us in disaster relief sort of situations. And then you have HEB that is like HEB over here, which is just crushing it. It just proves that it's possible. That's all I'm saying. HEB over here, proving that it's possible. They better. They doing good.
Advice, tips, tricks, weather tracking
That's
to help
amazing.
people know how to survive a natural disaster. And then when the natural disasters do hit, they mobilize massive convoys to go in with mobile
That's awesome.
kitchens, showers, cell phone charging, food, clothes, medicine, absolutely everything you could want. HEB is on the way to get it to you. And then they donate millions and millions of dollars back into that community to help with the reconstruction. Now, we don't know what the totals are for Kern County, Texas, because that disaster is still kind of unfolding and just now getting addressed. But in 2017 with Hurricane Harvey, they donated $6 million towards reconstruction, had 60,000 hot meals distributed, and 150,000 cases of water. Which raises the question, how in the fuck are they able to do this? Because like I said, grocery stores are the most cutthroat, razor-thin margins that you can imagine. Literally like a 1% profit margin on product. How do they have tens of millions of dollars to donate back into these communities and then have a full-time emergency response team on hand whose entire job is to track the weather and respond to natural disasters for their community? I, for the life of me, could not figure out how they had the money to do this. So I dug and I dug and I dug and I finally figured it out. And it's fucking genius. The way HEB is managing to make so much money, I believe, is because they're not just a grocery store that's vertically integrated making a bunch of their own products. They're also a real estate developer. Somewhere along the line, HEB realized that going to the grocery store is, you running errands. And you know what makes running errands really convenient is if all your errands are in the same place or even the same parking lot. So what HEB noticed is whenever they throw up a grocery store, people were coming to their grocery store because people got to buy groceries, right? So then other businesses would buy up all the lots next to them and throw up their company and basically use that as the excuse of like, okay, well, I'm going to get more business now because people are going to come buy groceries and then I'm right next to where the groceries are, so they're just gonna pick me out of convenience.
So did they buy the whole lot and then sell the other areas on the lot to other places?
So HEB, realizing this, said, you know what, fuck it. When I'm gonna open up a grocery store, I'm gonna buy 10 times more land than I need, and I'm gonna develop the entire area. We're not just gonna build a grocery store, we're gonna build the strip mall attached to it, right? So you're gonna come into our one gigantic parking lot where there's HEB and then there's 20 other stores on each side, and we're gonna build those buildings, and then we're either gonna sell them or we're gonna lease them out to those companies because we're increasing that property value just by existing there, and we're gonna make a bunch of money when we do it.
You smell that? What is that?
A cologne?
No.
Opportunity.
No. Money.
Okay, it's literally like a great white shark leasing out the space on its belly to those little sucker fish that eat all the shit that the sharks don't end up eating, right? It's absolutely brilliant. It's literally the field of dreams strategy. If you build it, they will come, and HEB figured, fuck it, I'm gonna build it for them too, and then they can just rent it from me. And the entire thing just feeds into itself because guess what? If you got one of those 20 stores in the strip mall connected that you're leasing out to, and somebody has to run errands at that strip mall, guess where they're buying groceries at now? HEB, at a convenience. So they're both feeding off of each other, but HEB is benefiting off of all of it because they own the whole thing. So yeah, that's how they do it. It's one of the most genius business models I've ever seen, and what's even cooler is they take a bunch of that money that they make off of this brilliant business model and do good in their community, literally becoming the FEMA of Texas. So yeah, the moral of the story is don't sell out. The American dream is not to build a company that's worth $1 billion, sell it to the open market, and then make $1 billion, fuck off and buy a Lamborghini for the rest of your life. No, the real American dream is to build something, make $1 billion along the way, and then hand it down to your kids and let them continue kicking ass and let them go out in the world and do good things, which is exactly what HEB did. The world would be a significantly better place if more companies acted and operated like HEB does. Imagine if Walmart or Target or any of these other major retail stores did exactly what HEB does. They could do it. There's no reason Walmart shouldn't have a convoy for disaster relief going in and helping people out, but they sold out and they're subservient to a board of investors, and the only thing they give a fuck about is making more and more money, where HEB cares about making money, but they care about the people they're making money from and they give back to them. And that's why HEB has its cult following that I didn't understand until I did the research for this video. It's because HEB isn't just some company coming in trying to make as much money as possible. HEB is legitimately a part of the Texas community and their culture and genuinely cares about the people that they serve. So in conclusion, I am in Texas an awful lot, and I am absolutely not sold on the notion that everything is bigger and better in Texas, but holy shit, the grocery stores sure are. Thank you for watching. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang, out. Also, they have homemade tortillas that are really good, and their Doritos have more cheesy powder than name brand Doritos, so there is that.
There is that. That's pretty awesome. Honestly, never heard of that store before. They sound awesome. That's so cool that they help their community like that they have figured out a way to not only make money, but also to help people. And again, it's like, I feel like that's so possible. And there's a couple of stores that he's talked about in the past, like I said, that have managed to figure out how to, they make money, but they also keep things available for the rest of their, their people. So it's like, hey, Costco, you could maybe figure something out here. You've got a lot of stuff. You figured out a pretty good business model. You could maybe disaster relief thing, because again, the government's not going to, but sucks that we have to depend on private folks for it, but they will definitely get it done a little faster. There's that. Anyway, that was cool. Loved hearing about positive things like that in a climate where we're not hearing about too many positive things recently. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Talk to your senators about trying to get some of those protections back up for disasters, like warning systems and such, because a lot of that is what got cut. And you know, maybe let's see. I don't know if there's a link. He didn't put a link in to donate to that Texas hurricane disaster, but and I don't know enough about it to know like what's a good one to do, but it's a thought if you wanted to. Thank you so much for watching. See you next time.